All right. So it has been a while, but welcome back to another legal investigations. I am Jane Light for today, and for next few, probably if there's any further legal investigations during the Pride Month, this will be me. If you want to refer to me as Jake or Jane, or any pronouns you want, it doesn't matter. I'm fine with anything, especially this month, you know. So yeah, so for today's legal investigations, we'll be going through multiple community guidelines and policies, and all policies. You know, sometimes they call it policies, sometimes they call it community guidelines, but it's the same. It's the same because there are simply rules that you're legally obligated to follow. You know, they are. If you break them, in a sense that you are breaking their contractual, you're breaking your contractual obligations, because all this, you know, community guidelines from all these various social media platforms are part of their terms of service. So when you agree to their terms of service, which I don't think I really need to link the TOS to you all to see, but they do say if you. But by agreeing to this terms of service, you also agree to all the community guidelines, all the whatever policies that they have on their platforms. So yeah, this is not something like, oh, they put in just for like, by the way, this is something you should also look into and encourage to do. No, this is not something it's only being encouraged to do. It's something you have to comply with. It's not a voluntary thing. It's not at your discretion thing. It is something, if you don't follow, you will how do you say, have actions be taken against you, right? So we'll be looking into, but there's many different type of rules, you know, different type of guidelines on all that subjects that you can or shouldn't be doing. So, but we're looking into specifically hateful conduct, and hateful conduct is a big chunk of things to look at. All right, so this might take a long time. I'll try to, you know, still explain it thoroughly, hopefully, and make sure everyone understands what this is, all this means, you know, and whether you want to follow it, you don't want to follow it after this seminar, it is still your, you know, it is still your choice, you know. But anyways, the main purpose of this seminar is just to educate people, you know. It is not to tell people, or if you don't do this, you're a bad person, or anything like that. If you don't do this, if you ignore it, it's basically I'm trying to, you know, accept this in a sense that not everyone has the same moral compass. Not everyone has reached the stage where they can be empathetic, sympathetic of other people's feelings, as well as suffering, struggles, and all that stuff. But you know, at the very least, I can tell you that, you know, the social media platforms, companies, they are not individual entities, have these rules for a reason. They are not obligated, just so you know, they are not obligated, or they are not legally bound by their countries or of origin to have these community guidelines. They don't have to put up this sort of like rules for you not to do something. Okay, have to be clear. So this is the social media platforms, the company's own voluntary basis of doing this. So they do hold up some sort of a principle, at the very least, to protect their reputation, to uphold a reputation. They don't do this exactly because, you know, they want to do the right thing or anything. It's more or less to be in a society, to have a peaceful society and all that, be part of a community, right? Because community guidelines, you have to follow certain rules, certain behavior. You have to behave yourself so that everyone can enjoy peacefully using the services provided by these social media platforms. All right. So the guidelines, policies that I'll be looking into are only for unless there is a request for some other social media platforms. But I would say this four would suffice, which is Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, and Discord. In a way, it's like chronological order, and not chronological order, it's in some sort of order. Twitch has the most elaborate or detailed description of what hateful conduct or speech is, and Discord somehow is the least specific. They have only a few paragraphs on it, and that's pretty much it. But yeah, either way, we'll be looking into all of them, right? But of course, we're looking to Twitch first, right? So anyways, for those that are watching live now, if you have any questions, please do tell me. You can email me, message me, or if you don't feel comfortable asking questions in chat, I also have the pinned message here where you can submit questions or whatever it is anonymously. So there's that. I'll check that periodically from time to time. But anyways, so there is that. This is a seminar. So because since it's a seminar, I would appreciate people, interacting, not just me blabbing, nagging, telling you what you should be doing. All right. Oh man. If you can't tell, I am slightly nervous. As always, whenever I do legal investing, I'm always nervous. Let me hydrate myself for a bit before we start this long rambling of rules and policies that you have to follow. All right. All right. So let's start now. Hateful conduct. All right. So this topic here is found in Twitch's community guidelines. If you want to look at it, I can post a link here already. All right. Look at the web page for yourself and read it through thoroughly. But for me, we'll just focus on the topic of civility and respect, but the subtopic, which we'll just read through, is the hateful conduct. So what does Twitch say about hateful conduct? All right. Twitch aims to be a place where everyone can come together in shared community experiences. This vision is threatened when people experience harmful rhetoric and abuse on Twitch. Twitch does not permit behavior that is motivated by hatred, prejudice, or intolerance, including behavior that promotes or encourages discrimination, denigration, harassment, or violence based on the following protected characteristics. Right, so they have a lot of protected characteristics listed here, but I would say I don't think I need to really explain this, but let's just go through them. Race, ethnicity, color, caste, national origin, immigration status, religion, sex, gender identity, sexual orientation, disability, serious medical condition, and veteran status. So it is, from my understanding of various laws in different countries, most countries don't have such a wide-ranging protected groups of people, in a sense, based on this sort of characteristics. I think the serious medical condition might not be a thing in a lot of countries. Maybe even if it is, probably will be under medical disability rather than like separated as being like how Twitch does it, disability and serious medical condition. But they are quite thorough, quite specific, quite detailed in terms of talking about sex, gender identity, sexual orientation. So sex, I would assume, being the biological sex. The gender would be gender between gender and gendered identity. That is something I'm not that certain. Gendered identity, I know, you identify yourself what gender, but what gender itself, maybe I'm not that particularly well versed. So I think I have to look at that. Gender versus gender identity. Is there a difference though? I feel like, yeah, Twitch here isn't really that, doesn't tell you what gender / gender identity means here. But it could mean gender roles, right? As opposed to gender identity. So gender role would be more of a social definition rather than an individual definition, meaning to say gender role would be based on what your gender identity is, and you're supposed to be doing some sort of how you behave yourself, how you conduct yourself in a society based on your gender feminine or masculine characteristics. But yes, very detailed, but they have a lot of different characteristics listed here, but they don't really explain them. But I don't think there's a lot to be explained. Race, everyone knows about race. Ethnicity, yes. Color, caste would be some country, some society has a different differentiation in categorization in society whereby there's a hierarchy in their society. So that's a caste system. National origin, immigration status. Immigration status is a bit not a lot of countries would have a law protecting immigrants, as in not to discriminate immigrants, all that stuff. Do I need to explain immigration to people? Well, for those who don't know what immigration is, it's basically people from a different country, from other countries going to your country, either for work, for living, for whatever reason. They are considered immigrants, right? So that's their status. But in society, a lot of people view immigrants as inferior and all that, or not needed, or some sort of nuisance and all that. A very narrow-minded view of what immigrants are and what do they provide to a local country. But in any case, that's a different discussion to talk about. But for Twitch, it is a characteristic that is protected, right? So all these things, all these people with these characteristics, no one should, as per Twitch says, permitted to behave motivated by hatred, prejudice, and or intolerance. Don't hate people, or don't specify that you hate people based on these characteristics, or be prejudicial, being discriminative, being intolerant, meaning because of these characteristics, you don't want to associate with them, or you don't want to accept them for who they are. So that's intolerance, including behavior that promotes or encourages discrimination, denigration, harassment. Denigration, I think I looked up into this one. It's really similar to either discrimination or harassment, but in a way it's basically dehumanizing a person, right? Dehumanizing a person, which, it is logical to have this rule here. All these things listed here have all these characteristics. People have done all this discrimination, denigration, or harassment or violence just based on these characteristics, right? And of course, they also say age is also a protection. We also provide certain protections for age, which are expressly noted in the examples. So I would assume the elderly, as well as the maybe children, minors. Anyways, we define protected groups as a subset of the population with a shared protected characteristics. Every Twitch user falls into multiple of these protected groups. Twitch affords every user globally equal protections under this policy. So, based on what Twitch says, anyone, whether you're a streamer, you're a viewer, anyone that is using Twitch's services and falls into this sort of specific characteristic, I think everyone would be. Someone would be discriminated based on their sex, gender identity, even national origin, right? Race, and even though they say it's a subset of the population, it kind of is applicable for, I would say, everyone, if they have been found to be the target of hateful conduct, so yeah. Anyways, there are lots of examples, all right? So I do have to warn people about this. If you're watching right now and you're not comfortable hearing this sort of like examples, it might be very graphic, might be very traumatic, it might be very personally triggering for you. So do take note. If you don't want to listen to this part of the seminar, please tune out. All right. Okay. I think we'll start now. For example, all right, regardless of your intent, right? So it doesn't matter what your intent is, right? Whether you actually you want to debate, right? Whether you want to have a neutral stance on it, you're like a centrist or something, or you don't have any ill intention, you don't want to hurt anyone just because you say things, or that you think that or you believe that what you say doesn't hurt people, there is an intention as well. Meaning here, regardless of intentions, whatever you think, whatever you do, for the examples, is prohibited. All right, you may not. All right, content warning. So do take note. All right, promote, glorify, threaten, or advocate violence, physical harm, or death against individuals or groups on the basis of a protected characteristic, including age. Right. So the examples are, right. So these are all violent stuff you can't do. Incite or promote violence against a protected group. Kill all the protected group. Promote or express a desire for a protected group to be infected and or die from a serious disease. Right? Tell a user to kill themselves used in combination with a hateful slur. Right? All this is very common, unfortunately. But again, for us, anyone that is listening right now, this is something to remember. It is not allowed. Whether people joke about it, these are serious offenses. I have to tell people, if anyone, doesn't have the intention to say these things, or just, joke about it casually, I would personally, I would advise people to just immediately take serious actions against them, not just give them some sort of warning and all that, or explain to them that this is not right or wrong. Simply allowing chances for people to say these things, especially in streams, is um, uh, it's not good. It doesn't set a good precedent, right? You let people say this once, meaning to say any other time, any other people do these things, they will be given a chance to do it at least once. And that would mean, if 10 people did it, there would be 10 incidents of this sort of hateful conduct happening for whatever intention it is. And if 100 people do it, there will be 100 incidents of this. So consider that, right? It's nothing personal, right? Whether the person intentionally wants to hurt someone or doesn't want to hurt anyone, doesn't think they're hurting anyone, it doesn't matter. This sort of like statements are very serious. It's not to be taken lightly. It's not if to just give a simple warning. If let's say you don't want to even ban a person, a serious how do you say, emphasis on breaking or breaching all these community guidelines is something to be really look at, right? But anyways, let me continue. Modify a video game content to promote violence against a group based on a protected characteristic. I've seen this happen before. I think I've seen news about this before, where a person would actually go and mod a game, so to how do you say, show their bigotry and all that stuff. I remember it's something like I think it's the Spider-Man game, the PS4 Spider-Man game, where there was this guy who went and modded the game so that all the LGBT graphics, what do you call them again? There were a lot of paintings, a lot of spray paints on walls, where it's like either showing some sort of a queer community together and all that, being wholesome and such. They just went. I think what they did was put like a white canvas over it or something. So they replace it with another graphic, with another image. So that happens apparently. But then again, I guess this is very rare. I would say if we are talking about Twitch, I would say this is probably a violation when someone streams a game modded for the purposes of removing LGBT content in some way. So, but of course, not for Twitch to take actions. It has to not just be that; it has to also be promote violence against them, right? A lot of times, people. It's unfortunate is that they skirt against the rules. They skirt against the guidelines, all that, by trying to see what the line is, where to see how far they can get away with what they do. And a lot of times they what they do is they say things or write things, but only to the extent of like it is implied they are being a racist, or they are implied to being a sexist and all that stuff. But you can't really say for 100% they are, right? They all, a lot of, I would say most people would say things in a vague sense, so that they have like a backup insurance. I'm not sure how to say it in English. I know there's a word for it, but can't remember it now. But yeah, basically not trying not it is happening very often uh, in Twitter, of course, at the very least. It happens on Twitter more than on Twitch, because a lot of times if a streamer, a VTuber or whatever streamer, sees something like this, they would have the common sense, especially if they do enforce a safe space. They would have the common sense to say, "Yep, you're trying to be funny, and trying to be edgy to cover their butt as insurance or just in case." Yeah, thank you, Sam. So basically, for streamers or VTubers, we have common sense. We can see that you're trying to be edgy and all that, and if confronted or called out, you'd be like, "No, I didn't say this. I didn't promote violence, blah blah blah, all that stuff." So this kind of people, if they are trying to give themselves excuses, don't give them chances. They're just trying to be pedantic. I think that's the word. pedantic. They say they just want to argue technicality, even though from what we can see, how these statements are made, how the words are written, we can tell they are not innocent, right? They're not. Anyways, for a few more examples on the violent part: glorify specific hate crimes or mass violent acts and or the perpetrators of such acts, right? Nothing to really explain about it. Suggests that a victim of a hate crime deserves to be harmed. Yeah, this is, I think, another way of saying this is victim blaming. A lot of people like to victim blame, and I have to confess, I used to be like that. I used to have a mindset where to be safe, you have to first do things that would prevent things from happening, from bad things happening to you. But as I grew older, as everyone should, and be mature and all about it, and be understanding, not everything you must prepare yourself to be safe is right, is supposed to be done, right? You're not supposed to be in danger, especially just because you're out in public space and all that. You're not supposed to, because you're in public space, that means you should behave in a certain way that reduce possibility of any sort of harm happening to you. Unfortunately, that kind of thinking just breeds a space for harm. The first place, it breeds harm in the first place, right? But yes, in any case, moving on. Use hateful slurs. Right, so this is the thing. Recently happened, I think. Yeah, just last week. So use hateful slurs, either untargeted or directed towards another individual. We allow certain words or terms which might otherwise violate our policy to be used in an empowering way or as terms of endearment when such intent is clear. We also make exceptions for slurs in music and singing along to music, as long as the song itself is not hateful and the slurs are not combined with other discriminating or denigrating content. Right, so this one, again, I don't care about the specifics of what happened with the drama happening with the corporate VTubers and such. My emphasis on this topic is, it is slur, whatever it is that might be considered slurs. Whether you think it's a slur or you don't think it's a slur. All these social media platforms, just to remind you, all these social media platforms, they don't tell you what a slur is. They don't have a list of what slurs are, and they prohibit. So keep that in mind. So whatever you, the user, the viewer, streamer, whatever, think what slurs is. It doesn't matter, right? If someone reports you for using a slur, it is up to the social media platform to determine what the words you've said are slurs or not, right? So that's up to the Twitch. There is a report button. Just use it. If if someone gets suspended because of it, yep, that's something that Twitch doesn't allow then, right? But then again, this conversation, I would say this discussion or conversation, this debate is pretty pointless when we are looking in the context of being in a social media platform, like that sort of a debate where people like to say, where a lot of, I think, Americans, I would say it came from, I see a lot of arguments or like viral articles talking about it, whereby a lot of individuals would complain that, you know, either Twitter or Twitch or whatever is not allowing them to do things, even though they have the freedom of speech or freedom of expression, blah blah blah, to do so, which, you know, which kind of shows that a lot of people don't know their own country's laws in regards to freedom of speech and all that. So to clarify, you know, anyone probably based in America, in the US, you have your constitutional right to freedom of speech and all that, freedom of expression, but that is only applicable, from what I've understand, I've researched, when it comes to governmental relations and all that. When you're having some sort of a statements that is directed to the government and all that, that is your freedom of speech, and you know, the government can't stop you from saying things that is bad about or good about the government and all that stuff. But when you're in a private space, social, even though, you know, Twitch, all this, maybe in a different context, they are called public companies, but public companies are not what you think they are. They don't mean they are like public space in real life, like physical public space. Public companies just means how they are registered in the corporate context, you know, corporate law context. It doesn't involve anything that is freedom of speech and all that. Like if a public company is registered as such, then they have to be subjected to, they have to allow people to say whatever they want when they are using their services. No, it's not like that. All right. These companies are still private. They are able to have a lot of control over what people can say, do in their platforms. Hence, all these community guidelines and policies, right? So yes, there's a long winding, but I assure you that it's important, right, to put in your mind to understand that companies are still private entities. Whatever you say in there, they can dictate what is allowed or not. That's why, you know, controversially, Twitter allows a lot of pretty bad stuff in it, regardless, you know, and also do a lot of pretty controversial stuff, as in censoring. both censoring as well as allowing different types of views, beliefs, perspectives, information, and all that. It's a mess. In short, Twitter is a mess. But anyways, so yeah, it doesn't, as what we're going back to this one, Twitch definition of hateful slurs, right? We don't know what it is. We don't know what the slurs are. We just know they use the word hateful, and whether it is untargeted or directed, right? Even if you say the slurs that is not directed to anyone, or directed to an object, or directed to nothing, or concept, or beliefs, perspective, not a person. It doesn't matter, right? From what I can say, I can see in this interpretation, or in how Twitch has worded this. So as long as you use the word, the slur that is hateful, you're caught in this definition, right? So you can't use it. But then again, for this one, as opposed to the one above here, which talks about violent stuff and all that, this one, intention is considered, right? Intention is considered. So they do allow certain words if the intention, right? There's only one or two specific intention they allow, which is empowering. If it is used for empowering, it is used for endearment, right? So that is the only two exceptions to this one. Any other way you want to use it is not allowed. But then again, still quite narrow, and I'm thankful for that. It's still quite narrow, right? But I don't. This is still up to Twitch's definition. This is still up to Twitch consideration. What is empowering? What is endearment? For me, I wouldn't say like, oh, just because you have the intention of using this word as an endearing way, you know, just to be wholesome or something, it doesn't matter. If the word is really, really bad, it's a slur, and usually commonly used to be hateful, to be discriminative and all that, insulting. I don't think you as the individual, whatever intention you have, would change that, right? Unless society changes with it, you know. We do understand certain words. Sometimes they are originally not a bad word, but eventually being commonly used as a bad word, as a hateful word. And it might eventually become neutral again. It might be used in a more endearing way, empowering way, as what is defined here. But if you're asking me whether you should use slurs at all, no. If you think or you're suspicious or someone tells you that it's a slur, just don't use it, right? The English vocabulary, or any language, I would say, is vast, right? We should have a lot of different words to describe something, to express ourselves. We don't have to use these controversial terms to do that. Whether or not you have been doing it for years, for your entire life or not, that's not a justification I can accept, really. Right. And don't take it from me, you know. Even social media platforms understand, you know, words have power over people. Words have meaning. Words have effect on people. Just by saying it, just by how do you say it? To clarify, not just by saying it, by using it by a lot of people for a purpose, for an intention, to push some sort of agenda, you know. That's the thing. That's how words are given power, right? It's not an individual thing. It's a society thing. The society, how leaders, how influential people make sure the society do what they want them to do is words, right? Politicians, religious figures, celebrities, whatever people that is, like a lot of people admiring them, worshipping them, or looking for them for guidance and all that, the words they use would have power, right? Whatever they say is right, they will think it is right, right? So that's why, that's why, one of the reasons at least. All right, let's see a few of the examples. Enter chat and spamming a slur, right? So this is pretty, I think, common, and there's nothing to discuss whether this is a gray area or anything. If you are doing this for whatever reason, spamming itself, right? Spamming chat of anything itself is something it shouldn't happen unless everyone consents to it, right? Yes. Now we're talking about spamming a slur. Pretty bad. Whether your intention is good or bad, neutral, it doesn't matter. Target an individual with a slur based on a protected characteristic in chat. Yeah, so using a slur that is related to a protected characteristic, right? So we go back to what's get all this. So any slurs that relates to this characteristics. So at the very least, they gave an example here, meaning say slur also has to relate to the protected characteristics. So if a slur refers to a race, ethnicity, color, caste, national origin, immigration status, religion, sex, gender, identity, sexual orientation, disability, serious medical condition, and veteran status, it will be caught. All right, it will be caught in here. It doesn't, I have to clarify from what I can see this example, it doesn't mean the person has to have the protected characteristic. It is just a slur is related or based on, used to, for negative purposes on a person with a protected characteristic. So that's their definition. Include a slur in profile content. Yep. Call another player a slur while streaming. Yeah, so this is specifically for streamers, right? Yep, this happened. Even though this is a example, it's very difficult. I don't know. I don't see a lot of articles, news, whereby Twitch actually takes actions against people who does something controversial while streaming. Only if they are like really, really famous. But then again, as you can see, it is something that is not allowed for anyone, really. Post, upload, or otherwise share hateful images or symbols, including symbols of established hate groups and Nazi-related imagery. Yep. So this one, I have to go back to this one. I'm not certain. So what sort of example? Let's see the example at least. All right. Stream with a Confederate flag in the background, given its historic association with slavery and white supremacist groups in the US, displaying the symbol in non-educational contexts runs counter to Twitch's commitment to being a service that is inclusive and welcoming to all users. Right. So, okay, this is what I wanted Twitch to explain. So, meaning to say, because with this example, we know that intention is important as well with this example. So not just showing some sort of symbol and all that without any intention, without specifying the intention, would be implying, would be prohibited even. Like for this, with this example, right? Even if you put something behind, you don't interact with it, you don't give attention to it, you just put it at the background, you are still violating their community guidelines, which is funny. in a sense, nah, it's not really rated. But yeah, never mind me. I was thinking of a cosplay convention in Malaysia or in actually Southeast Asia, whereby people don't really care about a lot of there's a lot of World War II enthusiasts, to say at the very least, in the Southeast Asia community and all that. So when it comes to cosplay conventions, there will be people cosplaying as World War II soldiers. So yeah, if you're thinking, are people cosplaying not as Nazis? Yes, people are cosplaying as Nazis. People are cosplaying as literal Hitlers in cosplay in those conventions, and there seems to be no problem with that in the countries. But yeah, in any case, if you're streaming, I don't know, maybe you're a cosplayer, you have friends with it's a cosplayer, and if they are like cosplaying as a Nazi soldier, do tell them not to. Okay, whatever. Okay, whatever reason they want to. You know, wear a t-shirt with the arrow cross. Okay, I'm not sure what the arrow cross is, but I guess you don't do it. I'm gonna just look this up, what this is. Arrow cross, far-right Hungarian ultra-nationalist party led by Ferenc Szalasi, which formed a government in Hungary that named the Government of National Unity. All right, now I know. Now I know. Post a swastika or SS bolts in chat. Yes, this is not allowed. I'm guessing you shouldn't use. I think there's like a lightning emote or something. You shouldn't be using that. Try to be cheeky, edgy. All right, that's that. Hateful images. Now we move on to create speech, imagery, or emote combinations that dehumanize or perpetuate negative stereotypes and or memes. Yep. This is, I think I don't need to really explain this. A lot of times, these are like clear-cut examples. When people are posting images of any kind that is depicting hateful conduct, hateful speech, there's nothing they can really justify saying they don't have ill intentions or anything, right? So yeah, black, brown, yellow, red face examples, content that perpetuates a recognized negative stereotype about a protected group as greedy or unintelligent. Yeah, content perpetuating negative associations between an animal and protected group, or comparing a protected group to animals that are perceived as inferior or unclean. Yeah, I see this sort of stuff a lot in Twitter. Thankfully, not a lot in Twitch. At the very least, it's really not possible to find this sort of stuff unless you yourself actively search for this sort of content in Twitch, right? So yeah, but just let me read all these examples so people know what they are. Content comparing a protected group to insects, pests, parasites, filth or diseases, viruses. Content suggesting that protected group members are subhuman, inhuman or impure. Content insinuating that individuals with certain protected characteristics are criminals or terrorists. Yep. Referring to a protected group as a property or things. Intentionally referring to someone using a pronoun. Or using a pronoun or form of address that does not correctly reflect the gender with which they identify, such as repeating incorrect pronouns after being asked to stop. So yeah, this one is, I would say, this is a pretty important category. It's not just imagery, it also includes speech. So all these things here, right? If we're talking about chat, it happens very often. Very often. Often in the sense that there would be at least one occurrence happening for each streamer that I've been interacting or associated with for some time. We all have that one story about these things. So yeah, it happens. Not often to an individual, but to the entire community, to the entire platform. It will happen at least once. So yeah, intentionally referring to someone using a pronoun, yes, this is something that you can't do. But yeah, I would never allow this sort of thing to happen in my stream. I've seen this happen in other people's stream, but again, not my space. So if I do report them, I will report them. But if I won't go to other people's streams and you should ban this person, or you should do something about this thing. Nah, I'll just report. Because how people conduct their streams, how people moderate their chat is up to them, right? Calling out, I don't think there's really any purpose to calling out when that's just me, when I don't feel like I have the right to do that. But anyways, yeah, very important, right? Just by this one, I can tell a lot of people have violated this one. But anyways, or at least people know that this is not a thing that you should do, but always try to skirt it. Try to say things without actually saying that you're a bigot, without actually showing that you're a bigot and all that. But anyways, moving on. Create content that expresses inferiority based on protected characteristic. For example, statements related to physical, mental, or moral deficiencies. Yeah, so I create content. I'm guessing this is more towards streamers. So let's see what the examples are. Support for all promotion of outdated, discriminatory, genetic, or anthropological theories, including eugenics. Yeah, so this is something I would probably emphasize is when we're talking about anything scientific, like especially biology and all that stuff, I would recommend people not to do that, talk in depth or let people talk in depth on these topics, right? If you are unfamiliar, like me, I'm unfamiliar with a lot of medical stuff, a lot of biological stuff, only like a general idea from articles I've read. I would not go in depth with discussion with this. Even if, let's say, someone in chat is supposed to be an expert, proclaiming to be an expert, proclaiming to be a doctor or anything like that, if they are trying to promote something like this, discriminatory genetics, saying certain males are something like this, or females are more prone to blah blah blah, whatever it is, or certain race are like this, blah blah blah, because of biology and all that stuff. Don't encourage this sort of discussion from happening, right? Whether it's true, whether it's not true, whether it's more of just for a discussion, whether it is true or not, don't stop that sort of conversation, because we don't want the purpose of not having this sort of conversations in these places is we don't want to spread possible misinformation or disinformation, right? Because we, the streamers, do not know what they are saying is true, so we can't fact check what they are saying is true. So the position you should take is, better be safe than sorry, Right. Next example: claims of divine sanctions for hostility toward a protected group. Yes, do not use religion to hate people. That's another way of saying. Negative statements related to mental health. Protected characteristic is a form of insanity. Yeah. That happens very often. Unfortunately, a lot of people say things like that. Negative statements related to hygiene are all smelly. Expressions questioning a group's worth are useless. Statements suggesting inferiority of a protected group are just worse at gaming. Yeah. This is very bad. I would not, even if let's say that it's not a protected characteristic, I don't know what would not be a protected characteristic. I don't think it's good to say things like this either way. Personally, all right. Statements questioning the moral integrity of a protected group, including statements suggesting that a protected group are all cheaters. Content that implies that another contemporary culture is primitive. Yeah, a lot of this stuff, it goes both ways, but yeah, for me, nothing would justify saying a certain group of people are blah 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 blah, all that stuff in a negative way. I always have to believe it's because of society rather than specific kind of characteristics that they can't change, right? Or deeply rooted to their individual persons, like religion and all this stuff. Even though religion is something that you can choose not to believe or not, but sometimes religion, I wouldn't say not sometimes, a lot of times religion forms a person's individuality, right? It's hard to separate religion, for some people, from themselves. So trying to, criticize a religion not in a helpful way or healthy way or peaceful way is not going to help anyone, or is not good as well. Making a broad statement against anything. But again, protected characteristics also includes religion. Anyways, moving on. Call for subjugation, segregation, or exclusion, including political, economic, and social exclusion, segregation, based on a protected characteristic, including age. Well, Jake became hot. I mean, he was already hot, but you know what I mean. Hey, Rave. Welcome to the Legal Investigations, where we're talking about community guidelines policies, specifically hateful conduct. All right, so if you have any questions regarding this matter, feel free to do so. But yes, we're looking into a lot of examples right now, and if you find this discomforting to listen to, I don't mind if you want to tune out. But anyways, I will be continuing now. We do, however, allow discussions on certain topics such as immigration policy, voting rights for non-citizens, and professional sports participation, as long as the content is not directly denigrating based on a protected characteristic. Alright, so yeah, this is more political, of stuff, which is very, very hotly talked about I think in a lot of countries, not just America, I would say. Even in Malaysia, this sort of topic is always talked about, and it's depressing to talk about because no matter how much we talk about it, it's like nothing really changes. So yeah, let me see the examples over here. Let's read the examples. Support for denying right to political participation. Should not be allowed to vote. That's bad because I don't see how people can justify that being right. Support for limiting participation in the workplace. We shouldn't hire blah 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 protected group. Yeah. Calls for exclusion from public services. We shouldn't spend tax dollars educating blah 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 blah. Right? Calls for exclusion from online services based on protected characteristic, including suggestions that a protected group does not belong on Twitch. Yeah. Calls for controlling or dominating a group of people, including glorifying a period because a protected group was subjugated during that time. Slavery was a day of glory days of America. So, from all these examples, all right, can you tell what's the common thing that all of them share? Well, I won't waste your time. It's a rhetoric question. Basically, all of this share one same thing: intolerance. Right? All of this is about intolerance, telling people they can't do something, they are not accepted to a space, to a society, to a community. All that stuff. This is intolerance, and a lot of people don't see why we shouldn't. A lot of people in a specific sense of wanting to look at the good things, the pros and cons, the pros of both sides. Where there's always this maybe it's the right, the left, the conservative, the liberal, the religious, the not religious, all that. One thing that we need to understand, whatever spectrum you're in this sort of like beliefs and all, is that we're, as human beings, we're supposed to accept intolerance. We're supposed to find intolerance to be natural, as in right, justifiable, in the sense we somehow think certain groups of people shouldn't exist in the world, right? Shouldn't express themselves in this way, shouldn't be allowed to do things in this or that, or shouldn't be in places that they shouldn't be in places where others are allowed, like public spaces and all that stuff. So I know you in your mind. For some people, there's already examples. There's already examples thinking up in your mind, and yeah, a lot of times people don't want someone else to do something or be in place or even exist. There's not really a good explanation, right? Especially when it comes to people that are in the minority, right? Protected characteristics that are of the minority population, right? Like the justifications of them not doing this or that is that it will bring harm, some sort of harm. It will bring some sort of physical or mental harm to people. And a lot of times, this very vocal majority do not have anything to base off of these sort of arguments. It's always based on, if anything, the justifications I only accept is scientific explanations in terms of this stuff. If your how do you say, just your justification, your reasons for not allowing someone to do something is because religion, political views, tradition, culture, and all that stuff doesn't really have a good basis, right? Doesn't really have a good basis, especially one without any sort of scientific support behind those beliefs. But again, doesn't matter, because how human society works. What we emphasize is important to us is what we believe. not what the actual facts are, unfortunately. So what we believe is right, what we believe is not sinful, what is sinful, what we believe is harmful, again, emphasis on what we believe, not based on scientific anything scientific basis that's proven, all that stuff, which is which we have to fight. Finally speaking, we have to fight on these grounds of philosophical discussions of what is right or wrong, not based on science, but not based on science, but based on social, economic, religious, political environment. But anyways, moving on. Encourage or support the political or economic dominance of any race, ethnicity, or religious group, including support for white supremacist, nationalist ideologies. This does not include support for self-determination movements. Support for the hegemony of any group based on protected characteristic, calls to increase fertility rates or restrict immigration to preserve the economic, political, social power of any group. This is funny to me because, how do I say this? This is the exact thing that Malaysia does. For those who don't know how Malaysian government works or how Malaysian society works, we have a dominant race, right? We're not like all ethnicities, all races of equal population. I think more than, let me check, either it's more than 60% or more than 70% of Malaysians are Malay. Majority race in Malaysia. As of July 2022, 69.9% of the Malaysian population was classified as Bumiputra. Bumiputra here means indigenous, right? Supposedly it means indigenous, or people who were born in Malaysia itself and not immigrated from Malaysia. Let me just do this. It's a term used in Malaysia to describe Malays, the Orang Asli of Peninsular Malaysia, and various indigenous people of East Malaysia. So yeah, that's the definition. So apparently that's the majority. That's 70% of Malaysian population over here. But unfortunately, the laws of our country is exactly doing this. We are encouraging or supporting the political or economic dominance of a specific race, a specific race, ethnicity, and religion, actually. So all this ticks, all this ticks. So for you to be defined as a Bumiputra in Malaysia, most of the states in Malaysia, we have like, I think 13 states. Oh man, how many states do we have in Malaysia? I totally forgot. 13 states, yeah. 13 states in Malaysia. We all have our own state laws defining what Bumiputra means, but most of them define it as you have to be indigenous or Malay. And if you're Malay, you'll have to also be of the Muslim. You have to be a Muslim as well. You have to be have to have faith in Islam. So yeah, that's the thing. We have a lot of laws. We have a lot of financial support for a specific race. That is, yeah, they have a more advantage here. So this is funny to me because if this how do you say, this guideline, this rule is, how do I say, really enforced or not. A lot of people can't really talk about this, and a lot of people can't. A lot of people, I guess, at least that are of a supremacist ideology, who are supremacists, won't be able to talk in this manner. Like, even though it is true, right? For Malaysia, it is true that this is how our society works. This is all right. I've read all these examples, and then we're moving on. Expressions of contempt, hatred, or disgust based on a protected characteristic. Statements that a protected group should not exist. Yeah, so I know. Let's just move on. Statements dismissing an entire group. I don't like Statements that are protected characteristic is repulsive or disgusting or causes sickness. Example, just make me want to vomit. Mock the event, victims, or deny the occurrence of a well-documented hate crimes, or deny the existence of a documented acts of mass murder, genocide against a protected group. Drawing a cartoon mocking in the victim of a hate crime. Denial of the existence of a genocide, including a Holocaust. Suggesting a documented act of mass murder motivated by a protected characteristic was a hoax. This happens a lot. At the very least, I can only tell it happens in the United States. Most of the stuff I heard of is over there, but it also could be happening in other countries as well. Make unfounded claims assigning blame to a protected group, or the otherwise intends to incite fear about a protected group as it relates to health and safety. So the examples here are conspiracy theories that individuals or groups are evil, corrupt, or malicious based on a protected characteristic. Yep, happens very often. Very often. Is it weird that the things I'm thinking of, it only happens on Twitter? Or at least it happens on Twitter because it is such a place that connects everyone without any sort of like restrictions or boundaries or algorithms in relation to that. So you see this very often being spread, being encouraged, being emphasized. Statements suggesting that the protected characteristics makes an individual more likely to be a criminal or terrorist. Claims that a protected group created or is intentionally spreading a disease. Yeah, very bad. Very bad. This happens in Malaysia as well. A lot of times when you see in the internet, people accuse, especially I think homosexuals, gays, of spreading HIV. So that's still an occurring thing. And recently, I think just last year, there were a lot of activists that wanted to that requested the government, I think, either requested the government for subsidies or allowing medication, allowing actual medication that helps, I think, either with preventing HIV or curing or alleviating the symptoms of HIV, but was denied, I think, either denied or currently being denied of such a medical treatment, because what they have said, what the politicians said, what the Malaysian politicians said, they are saying if the government provide this sort of medical treatment for people, in general, either way, then it will encourage the spreading of this STD, which is ridiculous. It's really ridiculous. It sounds really ridiculous to me. But yeah, you can think about it. But let's move on. Encourage the use of generally endorsing sexual orientation conversion therapy. Yep, this happens in Malaysia very often and without any control at all. Not by governmental bodies, so to speak. It's being done by religious groups. Support, promote, or be a member of a hate group, including sharing hate group propaganda materials. Yeah, so this one not really prominent, I would say, or I have not seen a streamer or VTuber proclaiming that they are of a member of a hate group. At least the group that would emphasize that one of their agendas would be discriminating people and being hateful and all. Not to my knowledge. But yes, that is what Twitch talks about hateful conduct. Very, very detailed. Very detailed. If anything, if people were to ask me about this or talk to me about whether you should follow community guidelines or not, or when you are even just like, even if you are just like talking about what are the right things to do or wrong things to do, more specifically, because most of the guidelines will tell you what you shouldn't be doing rather than what you should be doing. This community guidelines policies is a good place to find out what society doesn't like you doing, doesn't want you doing in the societies. So, like I have said, to promote a peaceful, harmonious environment, this is what you should be doing. This is what you should be doing. So these places, especially I would say Twitch community guidelines, is a good place to start looking what is right and wrong and have a conversation about it. Like I am right now, is looking through it, see if there's anything problematic or you don't agree to it or not. But for the most part, how all these policies have been worded in a way, they are very neutral. They are not biased in any sense, right? Because they know the purpose of these guidelines is for what, and the purpose is, to make sure everyone is able to use the services without any problems caused by other individuals. Really, right? Think about it, right? Consider about this. Me right now, my entire stream overlay here, my entire platform right now is promoting being accepting, encouraging of the queer community, raising awareness and all that stuff. What can you see in a way that this is intolerance or not? Is this intolerance or is this hateful? I don't think so, right? So as opposed to the things you've looking over here, the examples and all that, is all the things that are people wanting to be hateful, people wanting to insult people, shame people, disrespect people, discriminate people, all general, these actions, these sort of statements, the things that they produce is, the things that they affect, they cause people to do is not use the service. If majority of people are being hateful in the social media platform, right? It means that there would be a big chunk of people not wanting to be part of it, not wanting to be part of, don't want to be involved or exposing themselves to these sort of places, because it's obvious if you say anything, if you be in this public space, you will be targeted by people who are hateful, who will say bad things about you, mean things about you, very shitty things about you. Who wants that? Who likes to be called a lot of negative things? Who wants to be told that they are not welcomed, right? So companies know this, Twitch, Twitter, to a certain extent, YouTube and Discord, they know that being hateful is bad for business. Letting people being hateful is bad for business. Not moderating these sort of things is bad for business. So from that point of view, it makes sense to behave in this way. It also makes sense in a general society, in the general community, to follow all these rules. Okay, so that everyone, a community can help. A bigger community, a helpful community, a harmonious, peaceful community can help each other, bring up each other, improve each other, whatever it is, mental health, financial well-being, physical well-being, all that stuff becomes possible if we try to prevent or reduce this sort of behavior in any community. So for me, that is a very logical, very rational reason to not be hateful, rather than encouraging people to be doing the opposite, encouraging people to say slurs, encouraging people to unwelcome, to not accept people, to be part of the community, all that stuff. All right, all that stuff. Anyways, so moving on. So that's the Twitch hateful conduct. I have a few things to talk about at the very least. There's the FAQ, right? I want to talk about which relates to community and stuff. Over here, yeah. So this is something I always remind people, especially streamers, especially VTubers, or whoever has a community, right? Over here, there's a question here that someone asked, or either someone asked or Twitch asked themselves: can I be suspended for hateful or harassing content that viewers put on my stream? Now, that's a good question, right? Can someone else's actions in your stream put you in danger of being suspended and all that stuff? So here's Twitch's answer: you are responsible for ensuring that content that appears on your stream. I think this answers our question, right? Abides by our terms of service and community guidelines. If harassing or hateful content does appear on your stream, we expect that you take the necessary steps to mitigate this behavior and keep it from happening again. We will not suspend broadcasters that we find to be acting in good faith to remove abuse appearing from third parties and external sources, such as by using auto-mod, timeouts, and channel bans. Conversely, we encourage you to report users who attempt to put hateful or harassing content on your channel, as this will lead to a suspension for their Twitch accounts. So in a way, they don't exactly say if someone else does something, you will be suspended. Kind of vague, but they do say you're responsible. So you're responsible, meaning to say if, for some reason, if you're being reported based on someone else, if you're a streamer and you are being reported for hateful conduct because of someone else said something in your chat, that could be a initiative. It would allow, it would be a justification for Twitch to take actions against you. If they have checked you that you have done nothing to prevent those things from happening, in a sense, they are telling you, if you know these things are happening and you don't care about it, and you don't take any actions to do anything about it, in a way, you are also encouraging. You are, as a streamer, allowing this, being accepting of this sort of hateful conduct, harassment happening in chat, in your vicinity of control, right? You have all the tools which Twitch has said. You have auto mod, timeouts, channel bans, whatever else you have to take actions to prevent this from happening. If you don't, you might be in trouble then. So yeah. Then we have here another question, I guess is kind of related as well. Are streamers responsible for all hateful conduct in their channel? Right. So this is another way of saying, this is another thing they are emphasizing. Twitch emphasizes very often. Streamers are role models and leaders of their communities they create or foster around them. So this is not directed to anyone, right? Anyone that's watching this right now or later afterwards, that is a streamer or content creator. I personally believe in this statement. Some people don't, for whatever reasons, you know. But yes, streamers, as Twitch says here, streamers are role models and leaders of communities they create or foster around them. Streamers are expected to use channel moderators and tools we provide, such as automod, chat timers, and bans, to mitigate hateful conduct in their channel. Not using the provided tools to moderate hateful conduct appearing on the channel or otherwise attempting to mitigate the behavior content will lead to suspension. Yeah, so this is more how do you say, more direct, telling you, yeah, if you don't do all these things that you're supposed to do, you will be suspended. And of course, the only thing I can think of is either two situations happening. A lot of people are getting reported in your chat and they are getting suspended. And eventually Twitch will find out, or maybe they will conduct their own investigations on the streamer themselves and find that you are not doing anything to cull this sort of behavior in your chat. They will suspend you. Or I think the more likely circumstance would be you, the streamer, getting reported or for things that are happening in chat and you're not doing anything about it. And that will also lead to a suspension, right? But I digress. Regardless whether this is a rule or not in any social media platform, I would say anyone with a viewership, anyone who has some sort of following of their channel, which they are appearing as some sort of a public figure, a person who is influential to a certain extent, people who follow you for various of reasons, mainly that they admire you, they adore you, they love you, they are supportive of you, they are worship, they idolize you, they worship you, or whatever it is. It means that they have you as the person who has influence, who has all these different individuals following you. Sorry, you have the power to influence them. You have the power to say things which they will believe as right, which they will follow through, right? If they say certain things, if you say certain things, and those certain things are considered hateful, considered bad, considered controversial, your community will also think, this person that I admire, that is so full of charisma, so full of confidence, they know what they're doing, seems like they know what they're doing, and they are doing these things which most people would say it's not good. He is fine, or they are fine, or she is fine, then why shouldn't I be doing it, right? So us people, streamers, VTubers, will cultivate a certain community just by what we do ourselves. We don't have to actually tell people to do things. We just have to show how we are, how we do things, how we behave, how we say things, or allow ourselves to do things. Naturally influences other people, right? And that's how I would say how most community, how most society works. We are always constantly looking for someone as their guidance, right? Especially adults, or I wouldn't say especially adults. I would say young people. Especially young people. They will always look up to people who are probably not because they are just older than them, but because they are more popular, smarter, sometimes intelligent, more persuasive, more successful, right? All this type of people. We are always looking for this type of people. We are always looking for this sort of role models in our lives, all these leaders, so that we ourselves know what to do with our own lives as well, right? No, I don't think anybody who was born in this world already knows what they should be doing. Even if they became adults, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't. Even I, as an adult in his 30s already, right? Still unsure if what I'm doing in life is correct, right? It's something I always emphasize, regardless if one person listening to me, or 10 people are listening to me, or any amount of people listening to me. I always emphasize this as I'm just another guy who, is also looking to a way in life, just trying to live through their life, and I don't have all the answers, and even if I do have answers to life, they are not probably right, they are probably wrong. I still have a lot of room for improvement. I still have to do a lot of things to make things right, to provide good in the world and all that stuff. But then again, I am just another person. But then again, I do understand, by doing this content, by being a streamer, by being a VTuber, people watch your stuff. People are right now, I don't know how many people are looking at my seminar right now, but there are people looking at my seminar. I'm not talking to a wall. If I'm talking to a wall, probably, it wouldn't matter what I do. But even if there is a small possibility that someone is influenced by by what I do, I still have to be responsible, even if I don't want to be the role model. Even if I don't want to be a leader or any kind, it doesn't matter, because the things I do is moving towards that direction. It is of that nature, right? So I can't close my eyes and pretend that or either pretend or forcing myself to believe that whatever I do, I don't telling myself, as long as I don't have the intention to be role models or don't have the intentions to be leaders or influencers or anything, then it would mean that nobody would actually follow me. I don't put myself in that sense of false belief that, as long as I don't think I'm like popular, or I would actually cause any sort of like ripple effect towards other people, then I can do whatever I want. which is unfortunately how a lot of people don't think like that. A lot of people I've seen, at least on Twitter, with thousands and thousands, hundred thousands of viewers, followers, they always say when something controversial happens and their followers, their supporters are doing something for these people, right? For these content creators, they are always going to say things like, I am not a influencer. I don't tell people what to do. They are doing these hateful things out of their own volition. I'm no way influencing it. We have freedom of expression, freedom of speech. They do whatever they want, right? And they always try to remove their responsibility from these things from happening. They don't, which somehow would magically make these things don't happen. Would magically means that, yep, these people are doing things of their own volition. They are not totally affected by what their idols, their admirers, their admirers, their fans, their supporters are doing these things because they are trying to either protect these people in a weird way, protect this VTuber, content creator, or celebrity, politician, or whatever it is, in a weird way, or they are doing these things not to protect them, but not to protect this sort of people that they admire, or more like they are doing these things because these popular people, these content creators, they are also doing it. So since someone like this, they are doing something so atrocious, so problematic, yet they are not liable for anything. Doesn't seem to be any sort of like practical consequence for them. Then why should I not do these things, right? So at least this is the two ways I can think of why people are doing hateful things, are doing harmful things, and using the name of whoever they are using to justify it, right? And I don't know, not for me, if someone were to use my name to do something bad, I would address it. I don't think I would not address it at all. I would say, yeah, I probably will also say something like, I'm not telling them to do things like this, blah, blah, blah. But I also add on, I do not encourage these things. I condemn these things. People shouldn't use my name to promote hateful conduct, to promote hateful speech, to discriminate people. I would call out the same way any other people would call out this sort of actions. That's at the very least the thing that I would do. If I don't even want to talk about these things, at the very least I address these things in a professional, in a rational way, or responsible way. Yeah, I would say mainly as a responsibility, because I don't try to ignore the fact that I don't have any influence over it, right? But anyways, this has gone a bit long, but I would say other than that, what else can we talk about? What slurs are considered violating? Yeah, so I already said this. Why Twitch doesn't say what slurs are considered slurs? Well, this is the reason. We do not make our list of prohibited slurs public so as to not to enable or facilitate evasion of this policy. We take context into account when evaluating whether use of slur violates our policies. So yeah. Of course, just saying a slur won't automatically mean that you're violating community guidelines. Context matters. But that context, what sort of consideration Twitch takes into account, we don't know. So again, my suggestion is never try to poke around with this. Don't tread waters that you have never been to, you're not sure about, because you will never know. You never be sure about. Right? You only find out when shit hits the fan, as they say. So yeah. But of course, that's it. It's basically how should you avoid doing this? The simplest matter is don't say slurs. Don't say you can be profane. You can't say profanity, F word or whatever it is. I think a lot of people do commonly say, which doesn't have any relation to any protected characteristic. Can't say those things. But yeah, I think even then, for a person who does say a lot of profanities, someone who does say a lot of profanities, not me, but I've seen a lot of other people, it's fine. It's nothing wrong, I would say. But slurs, you don't normally hear people say slurs. I don't know though, really. Like, the only times you've seen this sort of like words being used is in Twitter or like spaces that are more private, which means that people in those sort of circles, sort of places, are not really conscious. Thinking about it, but they are not conscious, or they are not very aware of what is right or wrong, because they live in their social bubbles, their social circles, and that's one reason, for more private communities, as opposed to public spaces. Twitter, for example, or any other social media platforms that doesn't require you to connect to your real identity. A lot of people rely on that anonymity for various things, and unfortunately one of the things is people rely on that to say a bunch of bad things, a bunch of slurs, because they know there won't be any real life repercussions against them. Their account will be banned or all that, or suspended, but that's pretty much it. Ban evasion is a thing that I think is virtually impossible to enforce, to find out if someone is ban evading, especially if they just use a entirely different username as an email whenever they create a nuke account. So that's that, unfortunately. But yes, talk a lot about Twitch. So now finally we're moving on to YouTube. All right, let me just hydrate for a moment. And any questions though? Been 1 hour 40 minutes. All right. No questions. Let's continue. All right. YouTube policies, specifically hate speech policy. Let's watch this short clip of what YouTube thinks what hate speech is. All YouTube policies have this short clip.
True or false?
for you to
If you make a
learn.
video that compares people to animals or bugs because of their race or nationality, that could result in a strike on your channel. The answer is true. Hate speech is not allowed on YouTube. We remove content promoting violence or hatred against members of protected groups, including but not limited to race, gender, sexual orientation, or religious affiliation. We may allow content that includes hate speech, like news coverage of world events, if the primary purpose is educational, documentary, scientific, or artistic in nature. But this is not a free pass to promote hate speech, and it's important that the purpose of the video is not to directly encourage violence or promote hatred against individuals or groups. Let's take a look at a few examples. A creator uploads a video using slurs to describe members of a religious group and goes on to say the world would be better off without these people. In another video, a documentary features interviews with people from two different religious groups, during which the interviewees use derogatory words. Do either of these videos violate our community guidelines? Yes. The first video violates our hate content policy. YouTube does not allow use of slurs with the intent to attack, dehumanize, or degrade members of protected groups. But what about a documentary that shows people promoting hate speech? Would that be okay? To learn that and more about our policies around hate content, go to the YouTube Help Center article linked here, or use the link in the description.
All right, so that's pretty much it. Very short, but I would say true to the point, like quick, really simple to the point. Anyways, let's look at what they say. Also, yeah, they have a list of what this protected group means, right? So we'll look into this one. Hate speech is not allowed on YouTube. We remove content promoting violence or hatred against individuals or groups based on any of the following attributes: age, caste, disability, ethnicity, gender identity and expression, nationality, race, immigration status, religion, sex, gender, sexual orientation, victims of a major violent event and their kin, veteran status. So there's a lot as well. I think the only thing extra is victims of a major violent event and their kin. This is quite unique, but I guess makes sense. Major violent event could mean a lot of things. Recent events or world war events in the past, historic events. Yes, but of course, it has to be referring to victims of a major violent event and their kin. Oh, yeah. So not just victims, but also their kin, meaning to say their descendants. Right. If you find content that violates this policy, report it. Instructions for reporting violations of our community guidelines are available here. If you found a few video or comments that you would like to report, you can report the channel. Right. So that's that. YouTube doesn't really have a extensive explanation on this one as compared to Twitch, but we'll just go through quickly. Everything else right now, we're just going to see if there's any differences, any sort of like any extra additional stuff, or we need to highlight. But more or less, they would be quite similar. Right, what this policy means for you: if you're posting content, don't post content on YouTube if the purpose of that content is to do one or more of the following: encourage violence against individuals or groups based on the above attributes. So this is simple. We don't allow threats on YouTube, and we treat implied calls for violence as real threats. You can learn more about our policies on threats and harassment. Not really related to our topic at hand, but yeah. Incite hatred against individuals or groups based on any of the attributes noted above. So yeah, violence or hatred is what they mean when they say hateful speech. You can't do any act, any speech, any writings any content that involves violence or hatred against individuals or groups with all the attributes, which is very long list of attributes, and very, again, encompassing probably everyone. Now we're going to see other types of content that violates this policy, right? Dehumanizing individuals or groups by calling them subhuman, comparing them to animals, insects, pests, disease, or any other non-human entity. Praise or glorify violence against individuals or groups based on the attributes noted above. And again, this is something I highlighted previously. Use of religious or other slurs and stereotypes that incite or promote hatred based on any of the attributes noted above. This can take in the form of speech, text, or imagery, promoting this type stereotypes or treating them as factual. Yeah. Claim that individuals or groups are physically or mentally inferior, deficient, or diseased based on any of the attributes above. This includes statements that one group is less than another, calling them less intelligent, less capable, or damaged. Allege the superiority of a group over those with any of the attributes noted above to justify violence, discrimination, segregation, or exclusion. I guess this kind of is something I will also highlight. So in a way they are saying, you know, you shouldn't be, even though it's saying here, you shouldn't be telling yourself, or someone shouldn't be telling themselves that they are more superior because of whatever age or whatever, all this, you know, sex, gender, sexual orientation, race, nationality they have. Just based on that, you're saying yourself you're superior, and you are excluding them from any sort of a society, conversation, space, and all that. I think this also applies to people. It also happens where people that are do have the attributes themselves. I've seen people who are ASD, or in the autistic spectrum disorder, always justifying that people that don't have autism shouldn't talk about or shouldn't discuss about certain topics that are related to autism. And I feel like that's not really appropriate, right? Of course, we have to see what context where that they are discussing about. You know, neurotypical people. What are the neurotypical people are talking about? Are they trying to say what autism is, even though they have no experience at all in terms of what the symptoms are and what it is like to have autism? Then yeah, I probably would say you shouldn't really talk about in such a way, to saying how when you are not of a person with such disorder, right? But we are talking about conversations where the neurotypical person wants to find out or wants to have a discussion of what they believe and wanting to correct themselves of those beliefs if they were incorrect, if they were wrong. I would say, yeah, that would be a conversation that I don't think people that are in the autistic spectrum should exclude them from those conversation. If you did, I don't think it would help anyone to understand what all the struggles, all the problems that comes with being in having this disorder, you know. So yeah, something I just want to mention is, you know, hateful conduct, hateful speech, and all this, as they say, it includes exclusion, So it does happen even if people do have the above attributes, you know. Right, moving on. Conspiracy theories saying individuals or groups are evil, corrupt, or malicious based on any of the attributes noted above. Yep, that's something I don't really believe. It's more of a mindset, mentality, whether a person is evil, corrupt, malicious. We have to believe that no one is really evil, no one is really corrupt or malicious. They are just doing things that they think are the right thing to do. They are only and the right thing to them is not always about, you know, helping people and all that. The right thing for them to do could really just mean that they want to survive. They want to win, that they want to be the best, that they want to get the most, or whatever it is. That is what they think is right? But nonetheless, nobody would actually think those sort of things is actually would be considered evil, right? So if someone says they are doing something just to survive, would you say they are evil? Would they say they're corrupt? Right? They are doing something for a different reason only, I would say. But whether that reason actually harms people or not, that's another discussion to be had, right? Call for subjugation or domination over individuals or groups based on any of the attributes noted above. Deny or minimize a well-documented major violent event or the victimhood of such an event. Attacks on a person's emotional, romantic, and or sexual attraction to another person. Yeah, this happens. Emotional, romantic, sexual attraction to another person. Yeah, this is something that does happen. This does happen, but I don't think too often. I think I'm very self-conscious about this one. It happens within my family. It happens within family more often than it happens, or at least it happens more in Malaysian's culture. I don't think so. I don't think it's just Malaysian culture. Correct me if I'm wrong. People will tell you to either man up if you're like feeling emotional, like being afraid to do something or unsure of certain emotions, feelings, and such. A lot of people will tell you, you know, it's not a big deal, man up, or it's such a small matter. Why are you being so emotional? Why are you being so sensitive and all that stuff? I think that's the more common attack, quote unquote, attack on people that happens in real life. So that's what I would say that this means here, like person's emotional, romantic, or sexual attraction, like attacking people for not wanting to be for liking someone. I don't know. This is very vague. Sexual attraction, yeah, I know. Like sexual attraction to certain genders or that stuff. That would be more, yeah, it makes sense to me. Emotional, romantic, I feel like that is, if someone did that, they're just being a jerk. Hateful, I don't know. Hateful would be too strong of a word if that happened. But no, anyways, that is what YouTube how do you say, says this is considered a hateful speech. But I guess, you know, not a good not a good way of talking to anyone, really. Even if, let's say, it is not coming from a place of hate. Just, you know, ridiculing someone for feeling sad, happy, or any sort of emotion, as well as romantic, being in love. I don't know. Has anyone attacked anyone for being in love? Just being in love. You know, we're not even talking about the sexuality of the person, of gender of the person, or anything like that. But yeah, pretty weird if anyone did attack anyone based on person's romantic attraction. Oh yeah, sorry. These are all considered emotional attraction, in romantic attraction. I have to read it a bit better. Emotional attraction, romantic attraction. Yeah, I would say this is more towards discrimination against queer people, I would say. Anyhow, content containing hateful supremacist propaganda, including the recruitment of new members or requests for financial support for their ideology, right? That's straightforward. Music videos promoting hateful supremacism in the lyrics, metadata, or imagery. Okay, music videos. So sad. Educational content. This one, I don't think I really need to explain this one. If anyone, but then again, you know, to simplify this sort of this entire paragraph, it means that if you're making a video, if you're making a content that is trying to talk about hate groups, trying to talk about hateful conducts, talking about racists, sexists, and all that stuff, making it like a documentary, talking a news event, or all that. These are exceptions. These are definitely exceptions, you know. It helps with creating awareness. It helps with enlightening people that these sort of things do happen. But any individual that wants to do this, yeah, it has in their individual capacity, without proper experience, professional experience, how to do this sort of things, it might come out as bias. It might come out harmful. So I would not recommend, unless, you know, you're like a professional journalist or part of a company. If you're part of a company that does all these documentaries, you wouldn't really have a problem. You have a team of people to do it. But anyways, yeah, really don't want to get into this one because it's not really relevant. Policy applies to videos, the video descriptions, comments, live streams, and any other YouTube product or feature. So anywhere, in any place that you can write stuff, any place that you can say stuff, any place you can put visuals in YouTube, this applies. That's pretty much it. I don't know why YouTube has to emphasize this, but okay. Right, I guess just being thorough. Just being thorough. Then again, if someone put hateful speech in video descriptions or external links or clickable URLs, pretty weird. I mean, I don't think they are it's anybody who does this can justify being, oh, it's not my fault, it's written like this, this links, this clickable URLs or whatever is written in a hateful way. I don't think people really can justify it. But anyways, moving on. So what does YouTube do if you know all these things, if you violate this policy? So YouTube does this. In some rare cases, we may remove content or issue other penalties when a creator repeatedly encourages abusive audience behavior, repeatedly targets, insults, and abuses a group based on attributes noted above across multiple uploads, exposes a group with attributes noted above the risk of physical harm based on the local, social, or political context, and creates content that harms the YouTube ecosystem by persistently inciting hostility against a group with the attributes noted above for personal financial gain. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think this, at least, even though, you know, YouTube has this policy against hateful speech, the majority of how I think a lot of people avoid violating this hateful speech is being a news channel. I think a lot of news channel is able to spread hate just by being such an entity, right? Proclaiming yourself as a news reporting companies, a studio, or whatever it is. I've seen so many hateful stuff on YouTube. Like, unfortunately, when you browse through shorts or whatever it is, they will somehow this sort of like content will be I will be exposed to them. And apparently nothing is done to them. They are explicitly hateful. They are discriminative, especially against queer people. I've seen a lot of that type of news, the type of content. It doesn't get removed. It's very prominent in YouTube's content. And yeah, I don't know. Unfortunately, that's this case for YouTube. That hate happens. That it exists. YouTube is unfortunately like Facebook, a place where you can say these things just because there are exceptions. Unfortunately, to allow documentaries, to allow news reporting, all this stuff, it also means that there's a loophole for this type of content to get through, right? Anyways, examples. Here are examples of hate speech not allowed on YouTube. I'm glad that a violent event happened. They got what they deserve, referring to the persons with the attributes noted above. Person with attributes noted above are dogs, or person with attributes above are like animals. Six examples. Okay, I think I don't really need to read all these examples because I've read this. These are all pretty similar to Twitch's examples, right? Please remember, these are just examples, and don't post content if you think it might violate this policy. What happens if content violates this policy? If it does, we'll remove the content and send you an email to let you know. If we can't verify that a link you post is safe, we may remove the link. If this is your first time violating our community guidelines, you'll likely get a warning without a penalty to your channel. If it's not, we may issue a strike against your channel. If you get 3 strikes within 90 days, your channel will be terminated. You can learn more about our strike systems here. We may terminate your channel or account for repeated violations of the community guidelines or terms of service. We may also terminate your channel or account after a single case of severe abuse, or when the channel is dedicated to a policy violation. And learn more about channel or account terminations here. Right, so unfortunately again, enforceability in regards to YouTube videos, I am skeptical. Unfortunately, I'm skeptical. The only good thing about YouTube really is you can customize the algorithms, make sure that you don't see this stuff. But even if you don't see it, it doesn't mean it's not there. Anyways, moving on. That's pretty much it. That's YouTube. That's YouTube's discussions about what is hate speech. But now we are moving on. Twitter. For me, whatever Twitter writes in their policy, because of how controversial it is in this platform, take a lot of salt with whatever it is put in their policies. A lot of things are not moderated, unfortunately, in Twitter. Even then, if it's moderated, I don't know. It's a cesspool. It's a cesspool that if you, I don't know. I've been using Twitter actively, constantly for more than a year. The experience, the view I have about Twitter is that it's impossible to moderate it. especially in its current state. It's already quite bad before, you know, all the change happened. It's now worse. It's worse. And the only thing we can do is, yeah, we can report these things, report hateful speech, hateful conduct, but more effectively, the only thing, more practically, the only thing we can do is ban, block, mute, and all that. It's like a double-edged sword. It's literally a double-edged sword with Twitter. It's good with connecting with people, like-minded people, but at the same time, whatever you post, whatever content you make, there will be a hateful, there will be a group of people that are just, you know, hateful, just trolls and all that stuff. I'd like to look for this type of, look for us for some reason. Whether it's just to promote acceptance, promote peace, promote happiness, promote wholesome stuff, promote like the trying to be safe and all that. You will always seem, Twitter always seems to be able to attract people who are unsavory, and so unfortunately these unsavory people have huge followings and doesn't seem to be reducing anytime soon. This problem is not getting reduced anytime soon, because it's not one person, right? Even if one person with huge following gets removed, that one huge person was huge because there were thousands and thousands of people following him. There are thousands and thousands of people who are like them, like him, like them, like her, wherever it is. So yeah. Anyways, let's read what Twitter has to say. And yeah, the one thing to note is they've recently updated their policy, at least for their hateful content policy. As you can see, it's this document is dated April 2023, so it has been updated to just 2 months ago. What do we have here? Anything extra to talk about? I don't know. But let's see though. You may not directly attack other people on the basis of race, ethnicity, national origin, caste, sexual orientation, gender identity, religious affiliation, age, disability, or serious disease. So roughly the same as Twitch, right? Roughly the same as Twitch on what are considered the protected characteristics, attributes. Right, so moving on. Twitter's mission is to give everyone the power to create and share ideas and information, and to express their opinions and beliefs without barriers. Free expression is a human right. We believe that everyone has a voice and the right to use it. Right, yeah. But of course, you know, they have to say no, but there are consequences, there are limitations. Our role is to serve the public conversation, which requires representation of a diverse range of perspectives. We recognize that if people experience abuse on Twitter, it can jeopardize their ability to express themselves. Research has shown that some groups of people are disproportionately targeted with abuse online. For those who identify with multiple underrepresented groups, abuse may be more common, more severe in nature, and more harmful. Yeah, I mean, I agree with all these paragraphs, but action speaks louder. Twitter, or you know, right now the company has been changed to called X Corp. Anyways, we are committed to combating abuse motivated by hatred, prejudice, or intolerance. Really? Particularly abuse that seeks to silence the voices of those who have been historically marginalized. But that's the thing. Twitter also silences a lot of voices. Voices that don't abuse. Yeah. that doesn't show hatred, prejudice, or intolerance. Moving on. For this reason, we prohibit behavior that targets individuals or groups with abuse based on their perceived membership in a protected category. If you see something on Twitter that you believe violates state policy, report it to us. Well, yeah, that's what we do. The only thing we can do, reporting. What is in violation of this policy? We will review and take actions against reports of accounts targeting an individual or group of people with any of the following behavior, whether within tweets or direct messages. Right? Supposedly. Hateful references. We prohibit targeting individuals or groups with content that references forms of violence or violent events where a protected category was the primary target or victims, where the intent is to harass. This includes, but is not limited to, media or text that refers to or depicts genocides, lynchings. Right. Incitement. We prohibit inciting behavior that targets individuals or groups of people belonging to protected categories. This includes inciting fear or spreading fearful stereotypes about a protected category, including asserting that members of a protected category are more likely to take part in dangerous or illegal activities. All religious groups are terrorists. So, yeah. Let me just read all this. This is all these things that they are giving examples. It happens so often in Twitter, like so often. Inciting others to harass members of a protected category on or off platform. I'm sick of all the same thing. Inciting others to discriminate in the form of denial of support to economic enterprise of an individual or group because of their perceived membership in a protected category. Yeah. Content intended to incite violence against a protected category is prohibited under violent speech. Yeah. So all this stuff it happens a lot, and happens a lot against queer people as well. Saying people that are queer are more likely to groom children, all that stupid bullshit. This is so often you see. It's pretty exhausting. Moving on. Slurs and tropes. We prohibit targeting others with repeated slurs, tropes, or other content that intends to degrade or reinforce negative or harmful stereotypes about a protected category. Yeah. In some cases, such as but not limited to, severe repetitive usage of slurs or racist, sexist tropes where the context is to harass or intimidate others. We may require tweet removal. In other cases, such as but not limited to, moderate, isolated usage where the context is to harass or intimidate others, we may limit tweet visibility as further described below. The only good thing that Twitch does seem to have automatically able to do is detect hate speech, detect hateful words. Very often I see tweets, either in my tweets thread or some other people's threads, the ones that are like really bad, hateful and stuff, they are automatically hidden. It's only when you want to open it up you will see them. But then again, it's there. It's not removed. It's just hidden. So, yeah, it's something, but it's not good enough, at least to me. But again, slurs, slurs is also something you can't say in Twitter. A lot of people like to do it. Dehumanization. We prohibit the dehumanization of a group of people based on their religion, caste, age, disability, serious disease, national origin, race, ethnicity, gender identity, or sexual orientation. Yep. No dehumanization, alright? Everyone is just human beings. Hateful imagery. We consider hateful imagery to be logos, symbols, or images whose purpose is to promote hostility and malice against others based on their race, religion, disability, sexual orientation, gender identity, or ethnicity, national origin. Some examples of hateful imagery include, but are limited to, yeah, these are all pretty the same thing I've already read from Twitch. So we'll be moving on. Hateful profile. You may not use hateful images or symbols in your profile image or profile header. You may also not use your username, display name, or profile bio to engage in abusive behavior, such as targeted harassment or expressing hate towards a person, group, or protected category. Right, good. Do I need to be the target of this content for it to be a violation of Twitter rules? Yeah, no. This is not really necessary. I need to read this. What happens if you violate this policy? So what happens? When determining, we consider a number of factors, but not limited to severity of the violation and an individual's previous record of rule violations. The following is a list of potential enforcement options for content that violates this policy. Making content less visible on Twitter by removing a tweet from search results, in product recommendations, trends, notifications, and home timelines. Restricting the tweet's discoverability to the author's profile. Downranking the tweet in replies. Yeah, this happens. Downranking tweet. Yeah, probably because it means hiding the tweet. That happens more often. So yeah, thinking about it now, that's the only thing Twitter is good at. They have a system to automatically reduce visibility, probably just based on keywords. Other than that, it still allows people to exist. It still allows people to continue using the services and continue spreading hateful stuff. Excluding tweets and all accounts in email or in product recommendations requiring tweet removal. For example, we may ask someone to remove the violating content and serve a period of time in read-only mode before they can tweet again. This feels like useless. Suspending accounts that violate our hateful profile policy. Hateful profile policy. Yeah, so if someone believes their account was suspended, not really a lot happens. Apparently, list of potential enforcement options, but we don't know. We don't know what exactly they are capable. What Twitter will do, other than the listed examples. Could you get suspended? Could you get banned for being hateful? Maybe. Maybe not. That's the thing from what I can gather with Twitter's policy and how it is being formulated. Wish it was a bit more, just be general. Just say if someone violates this policy, they can, their tweets will have reduced visibility. Their tweets will be removed, or they will be suspended. I would like that sort of referring to what actions they would take, what actions Twitter will take, rather than giving this specific example. Suspending accounts that violate our hateful profile policy. Then what about other violations? And do other violations do not get suspension? Yeah. Anyways, you can tell I'm a bit biased. I'm skeptical with how Twitter enforces their rules and such. But it's there, it's there. It's clear you can't do all these things. It's just, enforceability is a problem. So that's it with Twitter's hateful conduct. We're moving towards the end, which is Discord's guideline. The Discord has a guideline, has been updated since March 27th, 2023. Not too long ago, just like Twitter. But again, this is its entire community guidelines. Just so you know, this entire one page, I think, only fits like 2 or 3 pages long. Long community guidelines. It's very general, but then again, I don't know. I'm not particularly sure how Discord has been good with moderation, but they do provide reports. They do provide, I think, like quarterly reports on how well they have been moderating their platform. Seems to does indicate they are doing something right. But anyways, yeah, looking back, let's look into specifically these few paragraphs on hate speech and conduct. Right. Do not use hate speech or engage in other hateful conduct. This includes the use of hate symbols and claims that deny the history of mass human atrocities. We consider hate speech to be any form of expression that either attacks other people or promotes hatred or violence against them based on their protected characteristics. So this is quite long, even though it's like, yeah, this is the only thing they're going to be talking about. But they have quite a long list of protected characteristics. Right? So what are they? Consider the following to be protected characteristics: age, caste, color, disability, ethnicity, family responsibilities, okay, gender identity, housing status. Okay, so these are new, or at least it's not contained in other community guidelines that we've all looked into. I hate this. Alright, managed to highlight it finally. Refugee. Refugee or immigration, race, national origin, religious affiliation, serious illness, sex, sexual orientation, socio-economic class and status. Socio-economic class and status. Source of income. There's a lot. Status as a victim of domestic violence. Sexual violence. Or stalking. Very specific. Very specific. And weight and size. Yeah, all this is... It's not in the other... community guidelines, policies. Not in the other social platforms, which is interesting. Family responsibilities. Do people get hate speech for family responsibilities? What do you mean by that, though? Family responsibilities. I'm sorry, as you can tell, I mean, I don't understand them because it's quite general. It could mean anything. Caring for yeah, I'm just looking up what does it actually mean in so all different ways. Caring for your children, supervising a younger sibling, regularly assisting a grandparent or older adult relative, routinely taking care of household tasks like cooking, cleaning, and running errands, working to provide family income. Is it more like people are getting shamed that they are like, if let's say I'm a guy, yeah, and I do housework, that would mean, and people are shaming me for doing housework. Is that considered family responsibilities or gender identity or gender? Weird. But I guess the more the better, I guess. Hateful speech, this sort of protected characteristics is involved would mean, yeah, I guess it's better. Housing status, I guess that this means like either you're homeless or renting a house or owning a house or not owning a house. All that stuff in regards to housing status. So good, I would say. Refugee, okay, immigration, and socio-economic class and status. This is pretty interesting to be considered as a protected characteristic. I'm guessing blue collar workers or something like that, or white collar workers, any sort of like definition, categorization of someone in a socio-economic class, like whether they are rich or poor, homeless, all that can be a protected characteristics. I guess it would make sense. You know, don't hate on poor people or hate against homeless people and all that stuff. Source of income, getting income from something. I can see that. You know, getting hate from people just because of the type of the sort of income you're getting. Maybe you're getting hate because you're getting some sort of financial support from streaming or doing something like, I don't know, OnlyFans, or some sort of a job or service or business that... Oh, I smell durian. I smell durian. Why do I smell durian? Anyways, source of income, status as a victim of domestic violence. All right, these are all, yeah, sexual violence or stalking. These are the hateful speech. I would say is probably victim blaming kind of hateful speech. You know, if like, for example, if a man suffers domestic violence, probably there will be hateful speech of, you're a man, why you can't be a victim of domestic violence, or blah blah blah, or something like that. Or yeah, I can see that. Or sexual violence, same goes. Or stalking, yeah, there's all this is possible for both male or female individuals to receive hate, because, you know, victim blaming is a very prominent thing. A lot of people don't understand why people shouldn't focus on the victims and trying to see a solution from the victims, right? I made a vehicle out of OnlyFans. Ooh, really? Nice. Good for you, Sam. That's I would say something to be proud of. Really being honest here. So yeah, good. I would say this sort of like items, sort of categories, characteristics included being is good, especially weight and size here as well. Weight and size here, I'm guessing people, yeah, a lot of people get hate, discrimination, and all that, shame, body shaming. Yeah, I think this is what you call body shaming. They should have just used those words. I don't know. it would make more sense to me at the very least. You know, status as a victim of domestic violence, sexual violence, or stalking. I feel like just saying status as a victim of violence or a victim of a criminal offense or something like that would suffice. And at the very last one, weight and size, body shaming, something like that would, or physical appearance, so would make sense as well. But yeah, body shaming happens a lot. A lot of people are not proud of who they are because of how society is so critical, so put so much emphasis, put so much importance over how one appears physically, which has made so many problems in life. Health is one thing, but judging people just based on how they appear is never a good thing. People might be skinny for one medical reason or another social reason, mental reason. It probably is a lot more complicated than people are skinny or people are overweight, obese because they are I don't know, lazy or whatever. That's very, how do you say, a cop out. A very the reason given is lazy, right? The reason itself given, I would say that is considered lazy. But yeah. That's pretty much it. The original nothing else. Everything else is different. Is something talking about something else. So this is literally what Discord talks about: hateful content or hateful speech. Very brief. I can't find any article on this one, like talking in more depth, other than they do have like their articles on updating their community guidelines, which they talk a bit about it, but more or less it's explaining why they have it, which I don't think is really helpful in a way to finding out what you can and can't do. But yeah, if anything, I will not suggest people to look at Discord's community guidelines to find out what's right, what's wrong. Though they do have very unique rules where other platforms don't have. So this is one example, but the other one, which I will always say, I will always mention, even still have the highlight here, is they consider manipulated media, animation such as lolicon and any type of digital creation to be considered child sexual abuse, normalization of child sexual abuse. Depicts, promotes attempts to normalize child sexual abuse. Do not post content that in any way sexualize children. Yeah, this is something all artists platforms do have. This Discord is the only one that specifically mentions lolicon. But yeah, anyways, that's it. Yeah, that's it. I've talked about the big four social media platforms that I would consider majority of people do use. At least the VTuber community uses a lot. So yeah, that's pretty much it with what I want to talk about the hateful content and hateful speech. I'm gonna check if there's anyone who wants to ask me anything. If not, we will be ending the stream now. Ending the stream? Yeah, ending the seminar at the very least. So yeah, hopefully it's how am I doing? I guess that's a question. I'm doing good. I'm actually happy. Hydrate. Posture check. Oh, okay. Okay. I will do all those stuff. Oh, bad. Okay. Thank you for all that, Redeem Sam. I'm doing good. I think ever since last year, since I've been a VTuber, I've been always looking forward to this, not this topic, of course, looking forward to Pride Month. And the way you peek under the headbag was so cute. Yeah, I can actually do this because I fixed my hip, right? So I can bend. Hey. Let me drink. Yeah, I've been always looking forward to this month because even though this month is the one that people are worried about, but it is also a month where a lot of my acquaintances, friends, and anyone that is a part of the LGBT community are looking forward to. And I love that it's a month all about being acceptance, all about talking about being accepting, and of course, creating social awareness on specifically, what are the sexualities, what are the genders, what are all that in technical details, as well as the social difficulties where all the queer people are struggling with. It's all about fighting as well as loving people no matter who they are, no matter how they identify themselves, right? Which I think this world really lacks. This world really lacks a lot on this type of behavior. Sometimes I wish, Pride Month happens every month. But then again, it will probably dilute the meaning behind it, the seriousness behind what we're trying to advocate here. But yeah, I think that's pretty much, and we're ending at a somber tone, somber tone for the seminar. Thank you so much, everyone who came by this seminar, came by to look at the investigations where I talk about all the community guidelines specifically on hateful conduct and hateful speech. We can move on to other topics, probably, but they won't be that related in a sense to Pride Month, more or less. I'm doing this first time, I would say, is because this is the most important thing I want to emphasize, with in my platform, my channel. Have a good rest of your day, Jake or Jane. Yeah. We're ending the seminar, but it's still quite early. I can still stream a bit more, but yeah. Thank you so much again. Hope everyone that is watching this in the VOD have found this to be insightful, and happy Pride Month, everyone. Happy Pride Month. Bye.